Valley News Live at 9 on Fargo CW.
We're beginning with breaking news on the national stage tonight. Arizona Senator John McCain has been diagnosed with a brain tumor. In a statement, the Mayo Clinic says McCain underwent a procedure on Friday to remove a blood clot above his left eye. Tissue pathology determined that a primary brain tumor was associated with the blood clot. The former presidential candidate and his family are now deciding on treatment options. His doctors say Senator McCain is recovering from his surgery and that his underlying health is excellent. The senator's office released a statement which said in part that consultations with his medical team will indicate when McCain will return to the Senate. If you're on the social job site LinkedIn, the Better Business Bureau has a warning for you. The next time a recruiter reaches out, you may want to take a second look at the message. Here's how the scam works. You'll get a LinkedIn message appearing to be a recruiter asking you to apply for a job. When you check their profile, it looks real, and you may even have some connections in common. However, there's a link inside the message directing you to a job application. You're then asked to upload a resume and then give personal information. But the BBB says no matter the details of the scam, the job never materializes. The scammer takes the information and then disappears. So how can you avoid being a target of this form of identity theft? The BBB says you should change your privacy settings. Instead of allowing anyone to send you an invitation, you can require that they know your email address or appear on an imported contacts list. And if you're not looking for a job, uncheck the career opportunities and new ventures boxes. Also be sure to look for correct spelling and grammar. And if you're still skeptical, follow up with the connections you have in common to see if they know this recruiter. And if the recruiter contacts you through email, you should ask to set up a phone call. The BBB says a legitimate recruiter will want to speak with you over the phone. And if you do suspect a scam, you can report it on LinkedIn's site. Coming up after weather, we hear from 3 airmen from the Grand Forks Air Force Base that were some of the first on-scene responders after last night's deadly crash. Plus, this Fargo woman now faces several charges, including DUI, after she was caught being 4 times over the legal limit with a baby in the back seat. But first, Robert, it's been a fairly mild night for us. Any chance for rain later?
Yeah, it looks like it will stay quiet as we head through the evening for the vast majority of us. Can't rule out an isolated shower or storm, but I think the chances of that are quite low. Right now, a live look outside on the CorwinAuto.com Valley Skycam, part of the Storm Team Skycam network. Sun setting, not quite as hazy today as we saw yesterday, but more smoke oozing back into the northern portion of the valley and with some light northerly winds as we head through tonight. And the first half of tomorrow, we may see more of that overspread parts of the area. Most of that will stay aloft, but overnight tonight across the northern valley, could see some of that settling down to the surface. Still warm out there, 78 degrees, feels more like 80, winds out of the southwest at 8 miles per hour. Temperatures elsewhere across the region, we're all in the 70s, right at 70 in Langdon, 75 in Grand Forks, 73 Thief River Falls, Roseau, Bemidji, and Fergus Falls, 71 up into the Baudette area. Winds have become rather light, and they're starting to shift around to the north, and we'll see those light northerly winds. And again, winds at the surface will become northerly. We've got winds aloft out of the west and northwest. Both of those could make a return to the smoky conditions as we head through tonight and into tomorrow. Just a bit of cloudiness out there underneath those clouds. We're not seeing any precipitation in our area, but some storms have fired off just off to our southeast. Also a couple more storms just to the southwest of the Minot area. Those continue to slowly drift off toward the east. Off towards the south, severe thunderstorm watch continues for parts of Nebraska and Iowa. No severe storms there, but some big-time severe storms racing off towards the east and southeast. Winds of 70 to 80 miles per hour with that bowing echo. And that approaching the Chicago metro area in the next hour or so. That's where all the action is for us. We've got some quiet conditions, and it looks like that's going to continue as we head through the overnight hours. We'll put our maps into motion, cooling back down into the 60s, even some 50s across parts of the northern valley as we head through tomorrow morning. And as we head through the day tomorrow, we'll start off with lots of sunshine, and we're going to see a quick warm-up out there. And after some light northerly winds early in the day, we're going to see those winds shift around to the east and then eventually to the south. And by late in the day, could see a few isolated showers or thunderstorms developing, particularly up in the Devil's Lake Basin, and maybe 1 or 2 of those could be on the strong side. Better chances for some stronger storms area-wide as we head through the day on Friday. Here in Fargo, we start off the day around 60 degrees, a quick warm-up, close to 80 by lunchtime, and by the end of the day, we're going to be right around 90 degrees. It's going to be a hot one and not much of a breeze out there either, with winds only 5 to 10 miles per hour. Picture of the day is some wavy undulatus clouds. That's some stormy clouds up in the Grand Forks area back on July 11th. Thanks to Kelly for sending that in. Going to use that as the background to our 7-day forecast. Tomorrow, not bad. Late day showers and storms up in the Devil's Lake Basin. Better chance, as mentioned, of strong and potentially severe storms on Friday. Some of those may linger into Saturday. And after some hot temperatures Thursday and Friday, a bit of a cool down by Sunday and Monday, but heating right back up with more storm chances Tuesday and Wednesday.
I feel like 80s are like the perfect summer temperature. 90s, you're getting a little
80s
gross.
with a bit of a breeze and some partly cloudy skies. That's perfect.
Agreed. Thank you, Robert.
You got it.
We're following up on a story we first broke to you last night. The names of the people involved in that deadly crash west of Grand Forks have now been released. 3 men from Grand Forks were killed in the crash. 39-year-old Jason Beaupre, 41-year-old Gary Voller, and 66-year-old William Joyner. 7 more people were hurt. 6 of them were from Grand Forks, including the driver of the van. And a young man from Hatton was also hurt. Officials with All True Hospital said last night they had 6 people in their care, and one of the people injured was transferred to another location, but they were not able to update their conditions today. And 3 airmen from the Grand Forks Air Force Base were some of the first on scene after the crash. Airmen Joshua Crankshaw, Lucky Talmage, and Brian McNerney worked together at the base. In exclusive interviews, they told us they were driving back when they noticed the overturned car and multiple people hurt. That's when they jumped out of the car and offered first aid until emergency responders could get there.
As soon as I saw it, my training kicked in that the Air Force has given me, and I was just ready. You know, I got out of the vehicle, I went there, I looked at the scene, and started moving forward with what needs to be accomplished.
You're trying to find out if there's any severe bleeding and things like that, things that need to be stopped immediately.
Crankshaw was wearing sandals and cut his foot trying to help the others. He was treated at the hospital because of the other blood and vomit that got into his cut. One person is being treated for injuries after a crash involving a motorcycle in South Fargo. It happened around 7 o'clock on 44th Street and 17th Avenue South, just a couple blocks away from the West Acres Mall. Authorities tell us that the motorcyclist was hurt in the crash and then was taken to the hospital by a friend. A Fargo woman was arrested last night for driving drunk with a baby in the back seat. Deputies say 36-year-old Amber Douglas was 4 times over the legal limit. Douglas was reportedly driving erratically along County Road 17 just north of Horace. Besides DUI, while accompanied by a minor, she was also charged with aggravated reckless endangerment. The baby was unharmed and is with the father. A North Dakota Highway Patrol arrested a man this afternoon for riding his bicycle while drunk after he caused a crash near the Red River Bridge. 58-year-old Larry Olson was arrested for operating the bicycle while under the influence of alcohol. About 1:45 p.m., the Minnesota State Patrol got a call about a bicyclist riding eastbound on I-94 on the Red River Bridge. Just moments later, one vehicle rear-ended another while trying to avoid hitting Olson. There were no injuries. Olson is being held at the Cass County Jail. There's been a rise in drunk driving incidents in the area, including that woman we just told you about, caught driving 4 times over the legal limit with an infant in the back seat. Authorities are always on the lookout for drivers under the influence, but usually the first people to see the offenders are the other drivers. Valley News Team's Clint DeRose tells us about some of the things you can do if you find yourself facing down a drunk driver.
Either I wait till I can pass, or I just stay behind them and let them just kind of get away from me.
Keeping some distance between yourself and someone you think is driving drunk is a natural response. But what seems to be less natural for people is picking up the phone.
Because a lot of times we run into the risk where people are like, I didn't want to bug you guys, or I don't know. That's your guys' job to determine whether or not they were impaired. I don't know. I was worried. But we always want them to err on the side of the caution.
Cass County deputies had 116 cases of DUIs this year, up from just under 100 the same time last year. While they're always on the lookout for reckless drivers, they can't be everywhere at once and rely on tips called in by other drivers. If you see someone you think could be under the influence, get some basic information like make, model, license plate, and direction they're traveling, but keep your own safety in mind.
We're not asking people to become agents of the state. If a vehicle is to stop off of the side of the road, we're not asking people to get out of their vehicle and make contact for us. That's what law enforcement does.
Everyday people making a call that could save lives. In Fargo, Clint DeRose, Valley News Live.
Some warning signs that someone is driving drunk include drifting into other lanes, randomly slowing down or speeding up, and a slower response to traffic signals. A Detroit Lakes bicyclist is fighting for his life after being hit by a vehicle in Becker County. It happened last night on County Road 124 near the intersection of County Road 129 West. The Becker County Sheriff's Office received a 911 call of a crash involving a car colliding with pedestrian on County Road 124. When emergency crews arrived on scene, they discovered the vehicle involved in the crash had left the scene. The victim in the crash has been identified as 44-year-old Jared Moran of Detroit Lakes. Police say he was taken to Essentia Hospital in Fargo, and anyone with information about the incident is asked to contact law enforcement. It can be frustrating to share the road with cyclists, and a new rule means drivers have to stay at least 3 feet from bikers when passing. But bikers have to follow the rules too on the road. The question is, are they following them? Valley News Team's reporter Molly Casey explains.
They concern me because, but I'm not going to stop what I'm doing.
In 2 days, 2 separate bike versus car accidents were reported in Cass and Clay counties. And Brenda Potter has nearly been knocked off her own bike by a passing car.
I have been what we call buzzed, where I've been almost hit by the rearview mirror.
Despite these close calls, Potter says she won't stop riding because she understands how to ride safely.
Cyclists are supposed to follow all the traffic laws. We are considered a moving vehicle.
Potter explained that when cyclists are on the road, they have to stay to the far right of the lane and obey all traffic signals like a car would. She says it's also safer to ride with others.
You're more obvious, you're seen better because you got a bigger pack.
Wearing bright colors along with putting flashing lights or reflectors on your bike can help drivers see you on the road. And while drivers may think bikes should be on the sidewalk, typically they can't.
They would make exceptions for young kids and learning kids.
Potter says there are great bike trails in the Fargo-Moorhead area, but she and Team Road Rash will continue their weekly rides following the rules of the road.
You can get a lot of miles in and spend time with great friends.
From Moorhead, Molly Casey, Valley News Live.
Potter says if a car repeatedly puts a biker in danger, to record the license plate number and report it to the police. And always be aware of your surroundings as you bike. A Wadena woman feels that she's being targeted by city officials and wants to change an old city ordinance that she says has recently been enforced. The ordinance only allows 2 dogs per home. Amber Block has been forced to rehome her 3rd dog after complaints were made to the city about the dogs barking and how many that she owned. Wadena's police chief says they aren't targeting Block, and 4 other families in town are also in the process of rehoming a 3rd dog because of neighbor complaints. Block says this issue started with upset neighbors, and she wishes they just would have come just to her.
The neighbors have never ever once spoken to us about this issue, and that is the first thing that we're taught. I think, growing up is you need to talk to the person that's causing the problems, see if you can resolve it that way instead of, just ignoring the situation and going right to the city officers. The police officers have way more to deal with than bark dog complaints.
Now, Block's neighbors say they have spoke with her, but nothing's changed. An online petition already has around 55,000 signatures from around the world. Local supporters plan to attend the next Wadena City Council meeting. If you need help uncovering fraud and corruption in your community, call us on our whistleblower hotline. That number is 701-237-6576 and leave your tip. A member of our investigative team will get on the case and go to work to expose the truth. A West Fargo woman was named as part of an investigation nationwide into healthcare fraud. And this woman was also granted a Habitat for Humanity home back in 2012. Tanette Brockins was just released from jail 2 days ago down in Hennepin County. She faces 9 charges of racketeering and theft by swindle. According to Lake Agassiz's Habitat for Humanity, Brockins received 1.5 twin homes in West Fargo back in February of 2012. Now, as you can see, we went to the address listed and knocked on the door twice, but nobody answered, even though we could see the lights on and then saw some kids inside too. A woman living nearby tells us Tanette Brockins is generally a good neighbor. We reached out to Lake Agassiz's Habitat for Humanity asking if this means Brockins could potentially lose her house. Our calls and emails have gone unanswered. And speaking of